Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sabah al khair, and welcome to this first session of Qatar Creates Talks for this fall-winter 2025 edition. My name is Jelena Terkulja. I'm the editorial director of Qatar Creates Talks, and I welcome you here to what promises to be an exciting discussion. This is also a very apt place for us to meet, Fire Station. This is Doha's Center for Contemporary Art and Artist Residencies. Once it was an active fire station, this remarkable building has since been transformed into space that offers studios, mentorship, and encounters between artists and the public. In the same spirit, QC Talks are built around the meeting of people and the exchange of ideas. From the start, it has been more than a speaker series. It's a platform where ideas collide, perspectives converge, and cultural voices from around the world engage on equal footing. Here, art, design, and heritage are not just presented. They're examined as forces that shape identity, influence society, and spark new ways of seeing and living. QC Talk thrives on the unexpected, the provocative, and the deeply human moments where culture demonstrates its power to connect and to transform. This season marks an exciting new chapter for us. QC Talks is evolving into a year-round platform that amplifies Qatar's cultural voice, both nationally and internationally. For instance, here in Doha, it will now be presenting programs throughout the year, and with a renewed focus on younger audiences. We're also extending our international presence and partnerships. In recent weeks, QC Talks convened panels in Paris, in collaboration with Art Basel Paris, and in Venice, at the Architecture Biennale in conjunction with Beiti Beitak, My Home is Your Home exhibition, which took place at Palazzo Franchetti and was organized by Art Mill Museum and the French Pavilion. Over the next 4 days, we'll explore themes that are both urgent and enduring: design as catalyst for change, architecture as a keeper of memory and creativity, as a force for shaping how we live, think, and adapt. And at the heart of these conversations is a question that resonates far beyond this room. How can culture respond to the challenges of our time? And what role can Qatar play in shaping that response? We begin this season with one guiding belief: that culture is not a luxury, but a necessity. It's how we make sense of change, listen across difference, and imagine what comes next. And there is no better way to start than with our first conversation: wearing identity, fashion, politics, and self-expression. Fashion is one of the most immediate ways we tell our stories, a dialogue between heritage, community, individuality, and imagination. To lead this conversation, I'm delighted to introduce Bianca Brigitte Bonomi, director of Harper's Bazaar and Esquire Qatar. With over a decade of experience in the Middle East, Bianca has been instrumental in launching Qatar's editions of leading international titles and curating some of Doha's most influential fashion and cultural events. She holds a master's degree in English literature from the University of Oxford and has shared her expertise on major platforms, including BBC Radio and ITV. With her editorial vision, intellectual rigor, and regional experience, Bianca takes the stage to launch this season of QC Talks and guide our first conversation. She will now introduce today's exceptional panel of designers and cultural visionaries from Beirut, Lagos, Paris, and Doha, each reimagining what it means to express identity through dress in our interconnected world. Bianca, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jelena. I hope we can live up to the hype. That was some introduction. Good morning and welcome to our panel discussion, Wearing Identity, Fashion, Politics, and Self-Expression. Fashion is one of the most visible and visceral expressions of identity. What we wear can communicate who we are, where we're from, and how we want to be seen. In recent years, designers from Beirut to Doha to Lagos have been reclaiming the narrative of what local means, using fashion to express rootedness and belonging while engaging in global conversations about aesthetics, sustainability, and cultural authorship. To help us navigate these narratives of identity, I'm thrilled to welcome Sandra Mansour, whose collections are laced with storytelling, femininity, and a dreamlike quality. Rabi Kairouz, whose collections bridge Beirut and Paris and explore freedom, structure, and sensuality. Omiyemi Akareli, founder and CEO of Lagos Fashion Week, and Dana Al-Mullah, who represents a new wave of Gulf designers integrating regional aesthetics and craftsmanship into a global design language. Let's give them a round of applause and welcome them here to Qatar Creates. Sandra, let's start with you. Your collections often carry a poetic sensibility that's rooted in Beirut's complex history. How does storytelling shape your vision?
Hello everyone. Storytelling has always been something very important for me and has always been something very rooted in the identity of the brand. For me, I always wanted to be a painter before being fashion designer, so I always try to bring the composition of a painting, of a color into a storytelling in designing in the designing process of my collections. And it always starts with a feeling, with an emotion, with a poem. Also, I mean, just living in Lebanon, in Beirut, is also an experience, and it deeply shaped me because Beirut, on its own, from its chaos, from its beauty, from its contrast, has inspired our work. Also, you know, living in Beirut last year, like now, it was a very challenging time, and we've noticed that designing has also been a part of a way of healing, and we've always tried to put everything that was happening there into our process of designing our clothes. And yes, so through my work, I really try to turn all of that into something visual and into emotions that talks to many people, as much people as we can. That is a bit individual and universal.
I love that idea of Beirut as a muse. And Rabi, I know that your work in Paris still very much carries the spirit of Lebanon. Can you tell us more about the fluid dialogue across cultures and continents in your work?
Hello, thank you for having me. I started my work, I was in Lebanon. I've been in Lebanon since 16 years. Then I moved to Paris. And my first city was Paris. I discovered fashion there. And when I was in Lebanon, I was attracted by Paris. And when I was in Paris, I felt something was missing, my identity and Beirut. And then I moved back to Beirut. I started my work there while looking, in a way, at the French couture. And then when later on I started my brand in Paris, I felt that the only way to exist is to be true to myself and to my identity. And at that time, I started to know and to understand what I was doing. And I discovered that fashion is not a flag that we carry. It's not a tag. Fashion is a language. And I learned how to speak this language with different emotion. And the only emotion that is kept when I write fashion or when I speak about fashion is my roots, my Lebanese, my Oriental, my Arab origins. And how to translate this into my work, I never tried to do Western clothing in Lebanese way or Lebanese or Oriental clothing in the Western way. It was a language that I learned how to speak and how to write, and something what came out very natural. What I kept from my Oriental origin is looking at how everybody here is dressed in a very comfortable way. I didn't look at the fashion as a mood board or as an inspiration as an Orientalist. I am myself Oriental, and it's completely different because I don't look at the inspiration, I live it. I live with it, I translate it into the coats, the jackets, and everything became so evident and so natural. So I wasn't here to shout or to demonstrate something. I just made it, and this is where it's slightly it's a thin line between how can it be seen. So I try to be as sincere as possible and as loyal as possible to my roots and my emotion.
In terms of that thin line, Dana, you're sort of part of this new wave of talented designers coming out of the Gulf. How do you weave regional culture into a modern aesthetic? How do you find that balance?
Well, for me, it's always finding the balance between heritage and innovation. I started my fashion journey by having an atelier called House of Motif. It was all about creating custom henna gowns, kaftans, and traditional like embroidery. Those pieces were very personal. They reflected our culture, our tradition, and reflected who I am. However, when I thought about creating my own brand, Dana Al-Mulla, and I thought about going to a wider audience, it was like translating our heritage in a way that could speak to a global audience. So I started my first collection called Pearl, Journey of Secret. It was inspired by the traditional story of pearl diving. I brought it to life by creating modern silhouette, innovative techniques in creating those pieces and the embroidery design. So it's always about translating the culture, not copying the culture, understand the meaning and express the culture in a way that could speak to a wider audience.
Talking of that wider audience and that global audience, Omiyemi, you're obviously coming at today's panel discussion from a slightly different perspective, because you've built a platform that amplifies African creative identity. From your perspective, how are African designers today redefining what cultural authenticity looks like?
Thank you so much for the invitation. Really great to be here. So it's been quite interesting because that question is a bit nuanced, because there's a difference between the perception of what African fashion should be. Before people approach that, they come in with expectation. And then there's actually what you meet when you get to know the designers a bit more and you peel them. Recently, it's been the topic for books, like, not African enough. Because you find out that, people are expecting to see something and then you see designers with completely different palettes, and which is clean. So I always start by saying that first things first, identity is rooted in who you are and, what culture means to you. And that's often subject to different interpretation and how you use it. It's not necessarily about color. Sometimes, it could just be borrowing from silhouettes and shapes. Sometimes it could just be borrowing influence from the past and redefining it in a way that's truly meaningful and important to you. So it's always about, going back to what you said about the contrast, and maintaining that careful balance between heritage and innovation. So we encourage designers to be as individual as they want and to interpret it the way they want to, and not to be subject to the gaze or the lens, especially the Western gaze and lens. oftentimes we're in showrooms around the world and some designers get attention because they have what people are expecting to be African. It's beaded, it's, you know, multicolored, it's traditional, right? And then you see this designer who's completely minimalist in approach, nothing that shouts I'm African, you know. And design, you can actually see the buyers walking past them and they almost want to scream, wait, you know, this is who I am as well. So it's something that, you know, we've had to over the years encourage designers that, you know, you have to stay true to who you are. What is your point of view as a designer and how do you express that? Because you cannot be all things to everyone. You know, you have to determine or define what culture means to you. And culture could be something that your reference point could be something your grandmother said in passing that you've incorporated into your collection. It doesn't necessarily have to be filled with threads and, you know, symbols in that sense. So culture is personal. It's what, you know, what you interpret as, you know, what's been passed down from generation to generation. And what we often, you know, and that goes back to the question around authenticity, consistency, and how you show up for yourself, how you show up for your community, how you show up, you know, for customs, quote and unquote, customs and tradition, and where that sits in today's world. So it's about having global resonance, right? But you're still grounded locally and you're relevant in rooms and in spaces that you're supposed to be relevant in. It's not just about seeing it through the lens through which people, you know, people's expectations.
Of expectation. In today's political climate, do the designers feel that there's almost an expectation for fashion to embrace in some way the political? Does it need to become, or should it become, a sort of site for empowerment or resistance? Sandra, fashion as politics, what do you think?
I think I'm based in Beirut, Lebanon, and I think that living there already is an empowerment. It's a resilience. Being there, living there, is already a battle, everyday battle. So, but I think it shapes us. It makes us who we are. We need to acknowledge that where we are is also part of who we are, and I mean, it's a challenge, but we need to take that challenge and make it our own and continue what we love doing and being true to ourselves.
Rabi, do you see fashion as needing to be or able to be political?
It's difficult to say able or impossible because fashion is like any expression of design. We are inspired and not we are inspired. We are we live in this world, so definitely we are sensitive to what's going on, and then we have to be responsible. So it is an expression. How to do it? How to be decent? How we react to what's around us and to express it in the best way possible. There is a message to say. There is a message sometimes of resilience, like we do in Lebanon, which I hate this word, but there is a reaction to what's happening. Again, I talk about resilience, and we can see that after when fashion changed, it changed because of a certain, like we see the pre-war, the fashion had a certain attitude, and then after a war, the fashion has another attitude. We react to what's going on. I'm myself not part of loud messages and reaction to what's happening. That's my point of view. But we can see that there is designers who are able to show and to express certain ideology with fashion, and we can, in a way, make our ideas travel easy sometimes with fashion in a soft power attitude.
Interesting. Going back to the title of the talk, and also I think picking up on something you mentioned, Omiyemi, you know, what does it really mean to wear identity today when so many of the references are hybrid or diasporic? Omiemi.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on fashion as politics quickly, and then I'll segue back into that, because this is really important to me. You know, through the lens of African fashion, and as far back as I can remember, like, you know, fashion was used as a tool for communication. You know, with adire, tie-dye, you know, batik in those days, like before my grandparents were even born, it was a tool for, you know, people had ways of inscribing on garment to be able to warn people in other communities of what's happening. So fashion has always been a tool for politics. I mean, curating Threads of Impact, for example, with M7 and Fashion Trust Arabia, you walk in and then you see this piece by Nazal Studio that's been, you know, the work of 10,000 refugee women, you know, with its individual coins stitched on garments. It's just like, it speaks to politics, it speaks to our time. And I think, you know, those are two things that should, it's okay for it to sit together. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but every now and then when it's expressed by people, it's often so emotional, and it's always an invitation to come closer, to draw awareness to what's happening around us. So yes, fashion as identity for Africans is quite interesting. You know, when you think about culture, Africa is having a moment right now, from music, Afrobeats, to, you know, Nollywood and art scene. You know, it's all out there. So for designers, in terms of where they sit and what their identity is, sometimes that could be, people talk about it being fluid, like, you know, where exactly do you sit within this? But it goes back to the conversation about being true to yourself. What does identity mean to you? It's a personal revelation. You know, it's very important that for some designers, it takes them a while to be able to hone in on what that truly means to them. But for some, you know, it comes a little bit easier. But the question of identity doesn't necessarily have to be grounded in your geographical location. Yes, we talk about geographical indication, which is something that's completely different. But when it comes to identity, it could be a medley of different things. It could even be borrowing. You could be African and you're borrowing influence from the Middle East. You know, you're borrowing influence from everywhere. And it's so about all the different experiences that you've had have contributed significantly in shaping and redefining your point of view as a designer today. But the most important thing, you know, that I cannot emphasize enough is around authenticity and consistency, and the ability to keep going back to the drawing board. It's okay every now and then to, you know, find yourself, and for that to change. But it's about being vulnerable enough to be able to go back to the drawing board, to ask yourself over and over again, you know, who am I and what's shaping my work today? What's influencing me? What is my point of view? And through that process, be able to, you know, boldly describe, not just describe, but, you know, be able to express how your identity has shaped and is contributing to the work that you do.
I think the idea of taking time, you know, this can take a lifetime, these questions. You know, how often do I look in the mirror and say, you know, who am I, where am I going, what does it all mean? So I think giving ourselves sort of pause for thought is really important. Just going back to the beautiful images that we saw on screen, and one of the things that resonates with me so much with a lot of your collections is that you're so deeply engaged with artisanal and traditional craft. Dana, can you tell me a little bit more about a technique or a collaboration that you've used that has maybe further connected you with your cultural roots?
Well, it was my first piece. When I collaborated, like I was joining Zuara program, and it was all about Valentino exhibition. And we went to Rome, and we saw the atelier of Valentino. So the project was about creating a piece that is inspired by Valentino technique. And that was my first piece, which is, if you go one slide, no, back. So that was the piece presented in M7. It has a quote called كل ما فيك من الأسرار يغري. Every thing in you is curious. So this piece was called Pearl, Journey of Secret, where I tried to put the traditional embroidery, the motifs, and the shells, the techniques, but use Valentino silhouette with puffy sleeves and capes and you know, these skinny cut dresses. So that was my first piece, using both traditional and cultural, let's say, storytelling with modern technique.
Beautiful. Rabbi and Sandra, I'd love to hear more about the use of artisanal craft and traditional craft in your collections.
When I started my own brand, it was very important for me to have this craftsmanship that was, translated from generation to generation. And for me, it wasn't something, it was something that I was automatically going to use in any of my collections, because it was very important to have those, it's in my values to have something that takes time. And also in Lebanon, I have my own atelier, which is really a privilege. So I think that having your own atelier can let you develop like very intricate pieces. And for me, craftsmanship is something that is part of me and part of my identity. We work with artisanalship that is all across Beirut, where we do hand embroidery, where we tell a story, where we design a drawing of embroidery, and yes, it becomes very personalized. We also work with thread embroidery. It has to be a passion because it takes so much time to be done. But the result is everything, because people can relate to it, and yes, so it's very important for me to continue those traditions. But because we have an atelier, it's something that it's something natural. It comes naturally because we work every day in that field, and it's something that yes, we have to continue those patterns.
Your passion for it is tangible. It's so lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Rabbi, how about you?
You know, when I started shaping my first piece of clothing, it wasn't about the decor. For me, the Oriental way, it's not looking Oriental, it's feeling Oriental. So I started shaping my coats, my dresses, in the Oriental way, in the Mediterranean way, where everything holds on shoulders, not on a body. When a woman will feel comfortable, will feel soft, and will feel confident because she's wearing something that she can live with, not to be structured or struggling to wear something that she would look good, but in my clothes and the way I cut things is feeling good. And this is why what an Arabic outfit or Oriental outfit will feel like. So I start with the shape. The shape is important, then comes the material, then comes the color, and then later on I had the chance to work with amazing artisans or amazing manufacturer, where between Lebanon or Paris, and sometimes in the Arab world, where the material comes just as a construction to be able to show a shape. It's more architectural than a decor. And this is what the Orient is for me. The Orient is something that you taste, something that you smell, something that you feel. It's not something just you look at. Looking at, it's just a fantasy from the outsiders. But we, as an Oriental, we just need to prove what a feeling, an emotion. And this is how it becomes more powerful and more universal. And this is how we can impose in on certain runways or even in any street outside our Arabic world, when we can see people wearing a kaftan or wearing a thobe or wearing something that feels totally normal, and we're not déguisé. It's not a costume. It's something that you live with. And this is what I introduced to my collection, is to feel Lebanese, to feel Arab, to feel Oriental, in this way of being sensual and comfortable. And suddenly you look elegant because it's you who is showing, not a dress that is shaping you to look slimmer or to look more beautiful.
I mean, in addition to all of those things, I think when a woman puts on one of your pieces, they also feel empowered. As a male designer, how do you approach the idea of female empowerment?
I don't pretend anything. I just do. I love women. I love to dress them, and I don't like to make them look different what they are. And what I love is when I do any piece of clothing, when I see somebody wearing it the way she wants, suddenly it's not me imposing a silhouette. Like, you should look slim. And I hate when people are, I mean, I hate, it's a big word, but I was never been able to dress somebody who wanted something from the clothing. I was never been able to dress somebody who is waiting for this dress to make her look beautiful, or to make her look slimmer, or to make her look richer. She just envelop, I mean, it's an envelope, it's a body, it's a home, a kind of a home that you live with it. And this is empowerment, because you make the woman feel comfortable, and suddenly she will look beautiful. And there is an Arabic say, واثق الخطوة يمشي ملكا. When you are in power, you walk like a king. And you don't need, imagine, I mean, sorry for the gesture. Imagine a woman waking and struggling and showing this. She's not comfortable. When she wears an Arabic dress or an Arabic coat, she walks like this. Because there is nothing holding her and struggling her. And it's so beautiful. And this is my inspiration and what I try to show in any piece of clothing.
I love that. Yes,
Sorry.
Absolutely. Just staying on this idea of gender for a moment, Sandra and Dana, how do your collections represent or reflect or reimagine your idea of womanhood?
For me, women should be very comfortable, like Rabia said, in everything they wear, so that they feel empowered in their softness as well. But what I think is the most important is that femininity doesn't become perfection. You have to accept who you are, and also I think for me sensibility and strength should come together as a combination. And also I work a lot with a personal client, and what I understand most of the time from them is that they want to feel understood and not idealized.
What a lovely sentiment. Yeah, absolutely. Dana.
Well, let's show my slides first. Fashion for me is a way of telling a story of transformation. My second collection, the fall-winter, was called Voice of Change. It was inspired by the time when women moved from being a traditional role at home to becoming leadership in the community. So through my designs, I wanted to celebrate that journey by creating pieces that showing strength, grace, and empowerment, yet keeping the essence of femininity alive. So fashion is a language that helps redefine what it means to be a woman today. It's like one who carries tradition, yet shape her own future. This is Journey of Circuit. Can we go to the second slide? Oh, this collection was called The Voice of Change. Second slide. Style pieces. Thank you so much.
Thank you. In terms of this idea of redefining, Omiyemi, I want to go back to Lagos Fashion Week and how regional fashion weeks can redefine the idea of global taste. Obviously we've had Paris, Milan, London, New York. Is it integral still to designers to be present or visible or celebrated there? What can we learn from Lagos Fashion Week in terms of the platform that it's offered?
Thank you so much. I think I'm going to be quite frank. Designers will always, designers will always feel like if they haven't shown in Paris, they haven't arrived. But what I'm quite pleased about, though, is that, there's this growing, super growing interest in other platforms. Like, really, it's become so boring. You walk into the stores, everything looks the same. No wonder a lot of the stores are having issues. It's so boring. You have the same brands over and over again because you keep seeing things through a particular gaze. And then you have platforms like Lagos Fashion Week and designers. Yes, we have problems and, either infrastructural and designers, a lot of work still needs to be done. Or you go to Riyadh Fashion Week, or we're here, with Fashion Trust Arabia. And things are just completely different. I mean, curating this exhibition, for example, I was like, wow, there's talent. It's different. The conversations are different. It's so inspiring. It's not Valentino, it's not Dior, it's none of those things. It's fashion that's been designed by people through a completely different lens, that we can connect with, that tells us stories, that's grounded in innovation, that speaks to social impacts, that speaks to environmental consciousness. Hello, Paris, what? Come on. So it's not, these people are innovating despite the challenges, yes, of course you can, so that's why I started by saying, to be honest, designers are still going to want to go to Paris. If I've not made it in Paris, I've not arrived. So we leave them to do that. But at the same time, it's important to understand the conversations that are happening locally from, Lagos Fashion Week, South Africa Fashion Week, Dakar Fashion Week. It's incredible what people are doing. And thankfully, what's happened, with I call it the digitization of everything, and, everything's just become really quick. In nanoseconds, stories can be transmitted across the world. So gone are those days when you really need, physical attention for you to be able to talk about the work the designers are doing, or straight from the show, just from a single click. Those stories can be celebrated globally. So it's I must say it's refreshing for me personally to discover different designers and we're also seeing that with Lagos Fashion Week. There's so much interest now. In the beginning, we used to fly people in, like guests to come to Lagos Fashion Week, and maybe third, fourth year in, we realized, come on, we can't even afford it. There's so much work that needs to be done locally. We can't be spending that trying to invite the Western gays all the time. I mean, you would see me, I would be that girl at international events trying to talk to, would you come to Lagos Fashion Week? Would you, And then one year we're like, no, we're done. If you don't want to come, sit at home. And you know what's, no, honestly. So Lagos Fashion Week, we're like, we can't even afford it. So we're not flying people in, we're not begging you to come and buy from the designers, because guess what? We have consumers locally who understand the designers, who understand what it takes to be the piece. I mean, I was talking to Amina Galal yesterday, how long did it take you to knit this? And she told me it took 30 days to knit. I mean, how do you explain that to someone who's coming to your country for 2 minutes or 5 minutes? You can't. So, it's different. I do understand, don't get me wrong, that that's why I started by saying, you don't give them Paris, they're not happy. They have to go to that Paris, or they have to go to New York. But at the same time, our people understand our stories better. They understand the craftsmanship that's gone into it. They understand the value. They're able to place a value on that work in a way that's completely different. They're able to understand that it's not driven by trends. It's driven by innovation. They're able to understand that when we design and we create, it's made with love. It's made with purpose. It's made from process. It honors tradition. And it's designed to last for a very long time. So when the buyers come and expect 1,000 pieces in three months or 2 weeks or whatever the dates are, that's where the disconnect is, because they don't understand. It's a labor of love. It takes time. It takes time to design, to create, and a lot of designers have problems. So you can show in Paris, but if you cannot meet the requirements of Paris, which means you have to ship, I don't know if there's someone in the room within a certain number of, and it takes you 30 days to 30 days to knit one piece of item. Come on, what are we doing? So it's very important that, we have to re-engineer the minds of people to understand that craftsmanship in some of these cities, and I'm not just speaking for Africa now, even for the Gulf, look at your work. How do you explain to people how long it took you to embellish that coat? How do you explain to people what it took you to design, that beautiful, it's a lot. How do you translate that into words? In a showroom in Paris, when you have 2 minutes with the attention of a buyer who's just possibly just paying you attention because they're forced to be there, but they're on their way to, the next big designer showroom that they don't have to invest so much money, to put in their storefront. So this is why this exhibition is important, Threads of Impact, because it helps our people to understand that, listen, a lot of these designers might not be your big name brands, but guess what? They have made and designed using pretty much the same process, that honors tradition, innovation, to design pieces from the heart that last for a long time, and they need to be supported. And this support doesn't come by paying lip service. This support comes by wearing the pieces, I don't know. I can go on and on and on and on, but
so could we. Yeah, we'll be here all day. I love the refreshing honesty. It's so nice to be in a panel discussion and hear that kind of honesty, and I know that the crowd appreciated it too. But I suppose just to end, if fashion is a language, what message would you like your collections or your platform to send to the world right now? Rabi, let's start with you. What message would you like your collections to send to the world right now? Literally now.
A smile. Just that. As simple as that.
Sandra?
Wear a smile.
Yes. So it's, for me, the message would be that designing is a way of healing, is a way of portraying an emotion, and it's a way of connecting with others and hope, of course.
Beautiful. And Dana?
I already answered this question earlier. Like, I just said, like, the fashion is the language where you can help redefine who you are as a woman. And right now, I'm a woman who carries her own tradition while shaping her own future.
And I think for me it would be responsibility and stewardship. A lot of the designers create with responsibility in mind, and that must be honored. And stewardship is, you've all been given this beautiful gift. What are you doing with it? How do you protect it? How do you honor it? How do you ensure that, it empowers not just people, but we think about the environment that you source from? And we can all do that through the work that we do.
And on that note, our cultural exchange has come to an end. Thank you so much to the absolutely phenomenal speakers, to Dr. Yelena and her team, and to Qatar Creates for hosting us. Thank you so much.